Hello, everyone. We're really happy to be here today with you. So I will have Adriana and Lucy from Loewe and Asana. So to start, can you both, of course, present yourself and a bit present, share some word about your company?
Hi everyone, so I'm Lucy. I lead our field and partner marketing at Asana. Asana is a work management platform. It's all about driving clarity and accountability across the organization, and we also deploy AI across every level of the organization so you can be even more effective. And we partner very, very closely with the lovely Loewe. So Adriana, please introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Adriana. I'm head of PMO and governance in Loewe, and gladly, you will all know Loewe. We are a fashion industry big company, 180 years old next year, so Spanish-based, and really good craftsmanship and big things coming.
So to start, can you please, Lucy, speak about Asana? Today we are here to speak about AI. We are going to make the link with luxury industry, retail. So can you speak more about how you integrated AI in a work management software?
So I think for us, maybe if I start by framing this around work management as a whole. So Asana, we work with thousands of retailers around the globe, Loewe being one of them, but Sephora, Carrefour, John Lewis and others. And what we consistently find is that as these retailers want to grow, maybe it's go global or increase those profit margins, that the go-to-market becomes more complex, right? There are more people involved, there are more processes involved, there's more time zones involved, and a whole host of other things. And what we see is that across those teams, it might be sales, marketing, supply chain, digital, every single one of them is actually using a very different tool. It might be that some people are using a spreadsheet, some people are using email, people are searching through chains and chains of email trying to find that right attachment. It could be that people are also sitting for hours on just status meetings, right? Where actually you spend more time talking about doing the work than physically doing it. And I think that drives a lot of inefficiency within your organization, but we're also in a position where actually that can result in duplication of work as well. So when you have all of these teams working on such critical work, and that might be product launches, it might be store openings, it could be brand campaigns, any of these, it's really important to understand how that work is being done within the organization. It's really important to understand who is doing what, by when, and how, and why. So that's something that is very, very important to us. And once you can drive that clarity across your organization, you can drive accountability as well. And I think I'll come on to this shortly, but this provides the perfect foundation for you to be able to deploy AI across your organization.
Can you maybe share with us what is the story behind your partnership and the reason why you choose Asana? Because Asana can be really a tech software for tech company. You're not, but you're become a bit right now. So yes, maybe speak about it.
Yeah, so when we started creating the whole PMO inside Loewe and the governance model that was behind, we were looking for something that would help us, a tool that would help us to implement all our processes and the organization that was behind what we were looking for. Because using a tool just for using it, it is the same as when we are talking about AI. You need to have the process in place, the governance in place, and the organization that you need to put in place in order for it to be efficient and to work out. So when we started, one of the first procedures that we started working, and I have shared it with Lucy several times from now, it's the request management. We were having a lot of requests that were coming from all the different departments that they wanted to do enhancement, to do projects, to do development, to use specific tools. And they came up, like Lucy was saying, they came up by email, by a corridor talk, by a coffee talk, by a post-it, anywhere. You could have it so many ways you can imagine. So in order to track them properly and to have a traceability of what was happening around, we relied on Asana. We started using this process embedded in our governance model that we put in place. And it was such a game changer for us. It makes us super efficient. It gave visibility for all of our different departments because it's not just an IT tool. We are working as a transversal department with all of the different departments that are in our company. So what we needed to give them also was the visibility of how the requests were, which ones were more prioritized, which ones we should focus on, or if we need time from someone in their teams. So it was a very good way of giving visibility to everyone, and to have it aligned with our strategic priorities.
How do you make Asana really accurate for Loewe? Like, do you create like some features especially for Loewe or for Luxe? Are you like more generalist that can be used as well for Luxe than a tech company?
So I think with Asana, like we are probably more like horizontal rather. So we work across like a number of different organizations, but I think the principles remain the same. And maybe like if I touch upon like, how you can deploy AI within your organization, we believe that very much all of the time, like a human, humans need to be making those decisions, right? Regardless of what organization you work for, you need to make sure that, throughout the process that you're driving, we know that AI can drive it a lot for your organization. It can be a huge enabler, but we need to make sure that there's always a human in the loop for any of those decision making. So, and that's particularly important for any critical business decision that you have to make. But honestly, any decision that you need to make needs to kind of have that human in the loop. And I think what we see is that AI has the power to really supercharge human judgment, but it's definitely not replacing it. And I think, leading on from that, there's a context piece. So for AI to work in the most effective way, it needs the right context to be able to work. And the analogy I was using with Adriana earlier is that you have a new grad in your organization, right? You don't just throw them a piece of work and expect that they're going to be able to execute that with absolutely no guidance. That's the same for AI. You need to be leveraging AI as a teammate within your organization. And AI can then take the lift. It might be some of the manual data processing or pattern recognition. All of those types of things are incredibly impactful for AI to take on. However, you also need the human element, and that might be critical thinking or some of the ethical reasoning that needs to go into every single decision. And that's something that will never be taken away. We need humans as part of everything that we're doing across any industry. Humans really have to be driving that decision making. And I think maybe this is going a little bit off-piste, but I feel that there's also a piece here around like how our skills evolve in the organization. Because you have, traditionally and certainly in more traditional industries like luxury, a lot of people have been doing some of those manual processes. Those hard skills have been really, really important. But as we move forward and we bring AI into the mix, we're in a position where actually some of the soft skills become much more important. And I mentioned some of them, the critical thinking ability, reasoning, all of these sorts of things. That's where like a human plays a really, really critical role, and that's not going away. So we have to make sure that we're upskilling alongside that to be able to use AI in the most effective way in our organizations. And I think leading on from that piece, we have, there's context, but there's also data. Making sure that you've got the right level of data to be able to deploy AI is really, really important. But being able to use the right data as well is going to inform some of those decision making. And then finally, there's a piece around transparency. So we have to ensure that we are transparent in the way that we use AI across the organization, and we have to make sure we understand how it's coming to its conclusions, right? I think we've all been in a position where we've used perhaps ChatGPT or Claude, and it's come up with some absolutely wild claims off the back of it because we haven't given it the right data. So being really transparent is key, and then you have a control element, and I kind of touched on this with context and data. You have to make sure you give it the right data. If you give it all of the data in your organization, again, you are going to get some wild claims. So I think making sure that you've got all of those controls in place, regardless of what organization you are, is a real way to make sure that you can bring AI into the organization, use it as an enabler, but make sure you've also got those human checkpoints in place.
Can you maybe share with us how you manage the transition and the integration of Asana? Because if we take the example of CRM, the integration is very heavy, it's very complicated, it's real cost. So how you succeed to do that, but as well how you manage the onboarding of all the Loewe collaborators, because if you don't follow the process, Asana can't be used. So
yes, in our case, it's true, and I was sharing this before with the team, that the most important part for us, or the thing that you really need to not underestimate, is the change management in it. Because you can have like a super good tool for everything, the processes in place, but if you don't get this change management in place, you don't have the users properly onboarded on how they need to use it, or even in our case, we did it department by department. Each department is different. It's not the same for a retail team or a marketing team or a finance team to use a tool, and they need to use it in their own way. Even if it's a standard tool, they need to use it in the way that they're meant to. They need to know what are their templates, what they need to use, what are the different indicators that are in the different reports that maybe we can have from Asana. Like, they need to understand that the data quality inside Asana is super important, and that they use it in the proper way inside their department and globally in the full company, because there are some topics that they need to understand the impact that this may have if at one time or at some point they have a report that gets to COMEX level or to someone, like, to make the proper decisions, what Lucy, what you were saying, to make the proper decisions, they need to understand what is behind that. And because Asana is really straightforward. It's an easy tool that you can use it, and it was one of the key things that we wanted is for tech people not to use it, what you were saying, Lucy. Hello, sorry. This is super important, because if you only meant for it to be used by a certain group of people, you also lose all the capabilities of Asana, of all the visibility, all the communication, everything. You lose the capacity of the tool, and you don't use it as much as you would use with other. Because what you want to do also is to get rid maybe of teams, of emails, of all other things that keep popping up in different tools, and to have them centralized in a certain. So yeah, I think that one of the most important topics is what you said. Like, for non-tech people, it's like to have a super straightforward, but also in terms of organization, super important that you have the correct roles, in terms of processes, that you have defined them, and you follow up with these people, because it's not just giving a training and let them use it, but also following up with them on how they're using it, and explain them everything behind. Yes.
And the last question, how you made the partnership a success, because you say in the backstage with me that you working now with more and more luxury brands, but I know how is it to work with a luxury brand, and it's not so easy. So how you make this partnership works?
So I think maybe I'll start with the Asana side, but I think for us it was really understanding in depth your use cases and how you want to kind of run your go-to-market at Loewe. That was something that we kind of like went deep with you, partnered with you, tried to understand exactly what you were looking to achieve. And when you talk about that change management piece, I think that's where we've kind of like really partnered with you to be able to kind of bring the technology into the organization, but also make it work in the way that you need it to work, right? Like, the way Loewe works is not necessarily the way that Sephora works, as an example. So I think really partnering with you on that, and I think that's kind of like core to what we do, is like making sure that we have that kind of consultative approach.
Yes, for us it's what Lucy was saying. It was more to understand the needs that we had, the use cases that we wanted to deploy, the different department needs that we had, for them to use their own Asana in terms of working all together, of working on their side and all together as a company. And also taking into account that this is a deployment that we did not only do here in Spain, France, or Europe, but we also had it deployed to other regions like the US, like Japan, like a lot of different countries that you need also to take into account that we need to adapt the tool for their needs or for their specificities for each country. Yes.
So thank you very much. And I think if you have any question for Asana or for Loewe, you have these two ladies. Thank you very much.
Thank you.